All right, folks. Let me get into this right quick here. Sorry if the audio sounds like fake while I'm just putting the mic up to my face, so it's gonna be kind of wonky. There'll be times when, just a warning there if you're putting in headphones, this and that, just to let y'all know. But I wanted to talk a little bit about germ said, and while I feel like the thing is, I have my disagreements with Apollonian Germ. I think he goes far too much he fell into the trap, I think, of just, Nazbold is really Bolshevism and, that type of thing. I think he's kind of, but I will acknowledge that, yeah, Putin may not be the best leader and that he's controlled by Muz Zionists and everything else, but it's like, anyway, but I will piggyback on what he says about experts. And I think it should be said, just ignore that in the background there. I'm cooking some rice as well at the same time. Multitasking. Okay. But I wanted to say is, we see people. Once again, a lot of these folks that claim to be leftists, claim to be anarchists, this and that, are now the motherfuckers who are like, we need to listen to the experts. We need to listen to the scientists. And to me, it makes no fucking sense. You're supposed to have class consciousness. And this is the point that I do believe with Caleb Maupin. But I know Caleb Maupin is ultimately going to go up down the same road and he's going to try to, go mainstream. But this idea of the synthetic left, where they don't actually give a shit about the ordinary people. And it's clear, even with these protests, that they don't give a shit about the ordinary people. They don't. This is what leads to, we always wonder, what leads to fascism? This and that. It's like, well, it's because half the time the left doesn't give a fuck about the ordinary person. They don't care about the average person that's working in the factory. This is another perfect example of it. I'm going to try a standpoint. Sorry for going off on a brief rant. But, I'm watching good old Bo with the Fifth Column. As y'all know, I don't like him. I can agree with him on some vague points here and there, talking about, the military and not trying to make a situation worse. But I still don't like him. I still think that he's a bootlicker. I think he's still somebody that really doesn't give a fuck about ordinary people. And I think it's just a ploy. But let me, but the thing is that now we're getting a new class of people, or at least, we're putting scientists back on the mantle again. We're putting scientists back on their pedestal, and that, people like Trump, they don't listen to science. We have to listen to science and what they say. And of course, then you'll say, well, isn't science compromised? This is what you say to the leftists today. Isn't science compromised because they get millions of dollars from corporations? And that kind of could potentially skew their information? Well, and ultimately they have no answer for it. They have no answer for those types of things. And you'll say this fetishization that they have with science. And I'm not going to sit here and down science or being anti-intellectual. I'm just going to say is that, with science, today is, it's another part of capitalism. That's all it, and I know now I just sound like an idiotic lefty myself when I say that, but science has been co-opted. Science has been co-opted since the very beginning, I would say, and the folks that love to fetishize science and they try to get into scientism, as much as people like Voss try to say, oh, well, I'm not someone that fetishizes science. I'm not is it? He kind of is. But anyway, I'm kind of ranting and raving, just kind of random here, but let me try to stick to a point. So more and more with this COVID-19 stuff is that we saw a lot of the experts say, don't worry about wearing a mask. Whether it's that Dr. Goo guy, the Chinese dude, of course, who got on his knee to own Trump and whatnot and won the lawsuit against him on Twitter. I mean, who gives a shit, really? But of course, then it was found out that he was beating his wife, this and that. He's not a friendly guy. But we saw a lot of these doctors say, "Don't worry about wearing a mask, this and that." Now, of course, they're like, "No, you have to wear a mask. It's going to do that much better, this and that. It's got to be fitted properly." And this is a lot of what Apollonian Germ was talking about, where, the fit's got to be just right. And if you move it around, then you lose that seal. And I think that, that there is a value to that. I mean, it's like for me right now, I just go back and forth between home and, the library at this point. My mom doesn't try to take me out and go to, the grocery shopping or anything else right now. But it's like, in general, I mean, that's all I do at this point. I mean, this is pretty much just like an extended summer, really. But once again, we're going to see this sort of idea that we have to listen to the experts. And it's like, who gives a fuck about the experts? The experts don't even know what the hell they're talking about half the time. Experts don't know every single little detail. And of course, so they set them a class above. And that's basically my point. And I know I'm ranting and raving. I'm good at just going on a long talk without any sort of, coherent idea. But basically the idea is this, is that the left, and I say this in broad terms, and I know I sound like a conservative when I say it that way, but in broad terms, leftists like anarchists, Marxist, Leninists, this and that, who are just, they say, well, yeah, we need to have class consciousness. We all need to be together so that we can, unite and fight capitalism. But we're going to have a separate class that's going to be above you plebs, the doctors and the medical professionals, if you will, the researchers and everything else that are above you, that are going to tell you how to stay protected, and that includes, of course, getting vaccines, this and that, and of course, like I say, you have people like Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who's saying, we're not taking that shot. We're not taking that. And ultimately, you have to remember, and this includes the cringy bread tube folks. I remember seeing this one video by one of these broads, who was talking about the problems with, how viruses are seen and, and how, anti-scientists and this and that. Oh, they're not completely wrong, but it was basically they spent their time waffling. And she talked, of course, about the Tuskegee experiment, giving syphilis to black folks, this and that. And of course, there's no real answer. It's just like, well, science. That's basically the only response. So, I mean, we're going to see more and more, of course, this idea that, and it's only going to be a very, very few. It's not going to be every nurse. It's not going to be every doctor. It's going to be those approved doctors and nurses. This is the same type of thing when people want to talk about race realism or other issues like that, where it's like, no, we're going to have these folks. And, it's like whenever they hear about a story, oh, well, I can remember, when this is one of the very interesting things. One of the biggest differences between the left and the right is, of course, there are thought leaders, this and that, but I think that adherence to thought leaders is a very different issue, at least to me. So when you have the difference between, the left and the right, there's a consensus on the left. It's like, no, it's nonsense. It's like when the kid was shot in Chop, 2 kids in the Jeep Grand Cherokee were, doing donuts in the park, this and that. They come out, and all these folks on Twitter are like, "Yeah, they killed a fascist. The people won." And then, of course, once they found out that it was actually two black kids, two POC kids, one of whom was killed because they went in and killed him execution style. The other one, presumably, is still in the hospital or not. I don't know. Then everybody, immediately, the hive mind was just like, oh, whoop, we're going to delete that stuff. We're going to pretend like it never happened. Whereas the right in general, we still have this, so this still argument where it's like, oh, well, we don't need to be Nazbol, this and that. Oh, it's not just capitalism and, systems, it's individuals. And I get what Apollonian Germ says when he talks about, we need to worry about individuals, not just systems. And, and Sassoon took over China, this and that. It's like, okay, I get that. Multipolar world, may not be the best thing. It's like, I get that. I do understand what he says when he says that. And there's no but. There is no but. I'll just say that there is that side. And then there's the more Nazbol side, with people like Keith Woods. And to me, I like both sides, really. I can appreciate both sides. But there's not a consensus, There's not a, it's not as standardized as the left in general, at least in my view. And of course, like I say, this is the online left. And of course, I know the real left, they argue between each other, this and that. I realize that. But of course, this is the false idea where it's like, oh, well, the right is always unified and whatnot because they're all authoritarians and, I don't really buy that fake hua. In reality, it could be a mistake just like anything else. But the thing is that, it's the hypocrisy that I'm more angry about. The hypocrisy where it's just like you feed people this bullshit, this idea that, oh, well, we're all about getting rid of classes and, this and that. And we're going to have, everyone's going to be the same once we get, better education for everybody, this and that. And it's like you realize that education in itself is a good thing. But of course, it depends on what you mean by education, especially today in this world. Education today in this world is a very slippery slope, to say the least. Education in today's world is a very, fickle thing. A lot of the time people find their own education, to find themselves. They may do, you can probably find better education if you go through Google and you know what you're looking for and you kind of find your way through. Now, of course, I'm getting my degree in marketing. If nothing else, I wanted to finish what I started. That's the line that I'm going to stick with. I'm just going to finish what I started. Does it mean that it's a good thing? No. I think that college is ridiculous, but I'm not going to sit here and try to give the basic bitch conservative idea where it's just like, oh, well, college may suck, but it's like you can still get your degree, or you can still go in the trades and whatnot. I've been down that road. I've been down the trade route a little bit, and it's not that great either. You have to spend at least 3 years huffing it and doing whatever they tell you to do, and then maybe, and I'm talking about HVAC in particular, I think you can speak to a lot of trades, and then maybe you can get maybe you can become a technician. Maybe you can become a welder on your own. But it's all about maybes. And even then, if they don't like you, they can kick you to the curb. So that has to be put into perspective. Sorry if I'm stepping away from the mic there. And of course, I went off topic as I usually do. But that's pretty much my feeling on it, where it's just like this idea of hierarchies, this and that. You can have the anarchist, the lib left, if we're going to be like, the political compass, where it's like, oh, well, let's talk about, well, hierarchies are bad, this and that. But then, of course, these are the same motherfuckers that are going to be like, well, we need to listen to the professionals. We need to listen to the doctors, It's like that's a hierarchy, isn't it? And of course, they will give their excuses, this and that. It's the same type of thing. All I have to do is when they bring up the SPLC, when they talk about white nationalism, or they bring up the ADL, all I have to do is bring up about the ADL being a Zionist organization. Of course, ADL, of course, started from B'nai B'rith. All you have to do is bring that up with them, and they'll just be like, well, it still has good information, though. No, it means that you are full of shit. I'm just going to tell you, that's how I feel about that sort of thing. So when people like you bring up the SPLC and not acknowledge that they had their own racism issues and they had their own internal shit going on where it was just a money-making scheme, then you're a hypocrite. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You are an absolute fucking hypocrite. So don't give me this whole shit about, experts being good, this and that. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous when you try to sell me on the idea of we need to listen to experts. And, oh, well, these are the folks, race realism is garbage, this and that. It's like, what do? You waste your time talking about white nationalists who believe in whichever crazy theory, and then when it comes to Yaqub theory, you don't say a word about it. That's the motherfucking problem, isn't it? You can't, they don't want to have, so, you can hate the mainstream media for not even talking about race issues in a realistic way. But even between, the extreme left and the extreme right, there isn't a big conversation, is there? Where it's like, they'll just say the Yaqub theory and they'll just say, oh, Farrakhan's an anti-Semite. And that's it. That's all they're going to say. Oh, he's an anti-Semite. Yeah. And we don't want to talk about it. They don't want to engage in it. So that has to be put into perspective. I went on a long ass rant, and most of it wasn't even about what I was talking about. But basically, if you stick to the end of this, is all you need to know is that, when people want to bring up the idea of experts, and especially when, the people who are talking about experts are the same ones that say we don't like hierarchy, you got fucking problems. I'll just say that right now. The people that claim to not like hierarchy, and then it's like, well, we need to listen to the experts. You've lost me. Yeah. Yeah, I sound different because I decided to, I'm doing this in the kitchen. I'm just doing this kind of freestyle here, Mongoose Man. So, but yeah, I figure I'd say it like that. I think I've pretty much said my piece. I wish I could be more on point. I was trying to stick to the same point, but yeah, basically, like I say, I think what I should probably link. I'll probably link the pink and I'll probably link it in a pinned comment. Apollonian Germ's recent video. I think he does a much better job. Kill experts. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense to me where it's like, we're going to listen to this small group of people, this and that, who are going to tell you what to do. I know, once again, I know I sound like a libertarian or something like that when I say that, but it's like we're going to suddenly listen to all these experts. These folks, like Eugene Gu, that's his name, Eugene Gu, who said, yeah, don't worry about wearing a mask, this and that. Oh, but now he says, well, we need to wear a mask. We need, and you need to make sure that you don't touch your face or anything else like that. And this is just going to continue on, take the shot, bigot, yeah. Take the hypodermic needle, bigot, that sort of idea. So, well, that's my attitude towards it at this point, where it's like these same type of folks who claim, this is why, the left in the United States is never going to be taken seriously, because it'll always get co-opted by something else. This whole Black Lives Matter stuff is just a way to get black folks into higher positions. That's all it is. And individual black folks, not all black folks, just a few. Look at people like D. Ray McKesson. D. Ray McKesson's writing for GQ now. He's writing for GQ magazine. And that's good for him, but is it good for the rest of the black folks? Hell no. So it's the same type of thing with Black Lives Matter. I think it's a way to make money. A lot of the companies, even, of course, I know Amazon.com got attacked, and they donated money. They gave money to BLM. But it's like, it's just another fucking way to make money. And you see, once again, that the left and the right, these terms are meaningless at this point. They are. I mean, they can talk about, you can talk all day about class consciousness, and you can use that aesthetic all you want to. But in reality, your leaders, your comrades who are, making policy or whatever the case may be, or writing out their manifesto or whatever the case may be, they don't give a fuck about that. They're the ones that are eventually going to be wearing suits. They're going to be wearing a nice 3-piece suit, and they're going to say, yeah, class consciousness. We should be, solidarity with the folks that are, striking there and whatnot. We're going to send some folks down there. But they don't give a fuck about you. So it just has to be put into perspective. That's all I have to tell you. It has to be put into perspective. And like I say, maybe I'm more of an individualist poison. I'm more of an American liberal poison sort of person. And I've been shit on. And, me being the only child that I am, get into some real psychology here, but it feeds into my idea that deep down, you can't trust that many people. And deep down, I feel like you're going to have to make your own moves. You can be friends with people, of course. You can be friends with them and you can try to be part of a movement. But at the end of the day, they're going to make their decisions for their people. And you have to realize, is that going to benefit me or is it not? And you have to learn when to bounce and say, chunk up the deuce and move on. You see what I'm saying? That's really what I'm saying. Anyway, I think I've said my piece. I appreciate Mongoose Man making these comments. I appreciate the other folks that popped in and just kind of listened for a minute. I imagine you're like, this guy's boring. I'm not going to listen to this shit. I got better things to do. And I don't blame you for that. It's okay. And I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, there's no ladies. And for that, gentlemen who are listening, let's just be honest. If there's a lady, I'd be surprised as hell. But, I think I've said my piece. I think I've actually said my piece. I think I've actually said what I need to say and what I felt in my head. So I think I'll keep it there. Y'all have a good rest of the day, and let's leave it there. Bye-bye.